He has no sound. He is muted.
All right, so let me go to YouTube right now. There we go. All right, everybody. Okay. Okay, we are on YouTube right now. Thank you very much. Let me go ahead and start. Father, you're so great. Thank you for so many years you brought us together here, Lord, as Mhstars, Lord. Today, as we have this conversation of staying pure, we thank you. We thank you for the leadership of Mhstars. We thank you for the dedication of even the leadership and who we are. Father, we thank you and we lift up your name because you're gracious. Thank you for the opportunity of organizing and coming here once a month to having serious conversations. It's been so many years. The consistency is because of you. We love you and we thank you, and it's in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Oh my goodness. It's been so many months, so many years. And to continue having this conversation is so beautiful. And, when God created us, it's like, what is your purpose in this earth? We are here maybe 100 years. Personally, I'm praying that I'm here for 120. people um people live here, so it's always that question, why did God create you? We are ministers of the gospel, and be able to reach out to people in medicine, like you're a doctor, you're a nurse practitioner. It's beautiful to reach out and help people, and that's what I've been thinking about Mhstars, that God gave us a calling, and we as leaders and people coming through, we're able to be obedient to that calling. And sometimes like, oh my God, we're only this number, but I know what the Bible says. The Bible is always very faithful. We say, where two or three are gathered, I'm in their midst. So that's the beauty, and that's what keeps me going with all the organization that I lead, that it doesn't matter, you're going to reach to so many people through God's grace. So I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to continue having this conversation so that we can be better as humanity. We can be better in this diaspora. We can be better back in Kenya, back in Africa, where we're from. So I thank God for you guys. Thank you. Welcome again for our monthly meeting. God bless you. God bless you, and you are welcome. Thank you very much. We're going to go to a disclaimer by Rev, our chairman, chair lady, Reverend Wamboi. Thank you so very much for your dedication. Karibu sana.
Good evening and welcome to our discussion this evening, this Tuesday, beautiful day. The sun has set on the eastern coast, and my name is Reverend Wamboi Njoroge. I'm honored to be here. I want to wish you a disclaimer on behalf of Mental Health Stars Association, and we are registered in the state of Georgia, so we do have to mind our own business. The disclaimer is that we are not your doctor. We are not your psychiatrist. We are not your counselor, psychotherapist. Sometimes individuals in mental health are always just called simply counselor. In that regard, and with that regard, we want you to know that if you are on medication and you have a diagnosis, it is very important that you stay in touch and stay connected with your health providers, your doctors, psychotherapists, again, counselors. And if you are taking medication, do not stop taking your medication because you're feeling better after 2 or 3 weeks. Do not discontinue taking your medication without the consent and consultation with your doctor. However, we are presenting this discussion to the community. It is free of charge because we want to remove stigma from mental health so that individuals, families, communities, and nations can go free, because almost without exception of schizophrenia, most mental health issues and disorders, they are treatable. Some are even preventable. So we want to encourage you to reach out and ask for help. We are here, and you can always reach us. You have our email, you have our website, and here I am. You can reach me, and we can talk. We can issue you a referral to our health provider. That being said, please relax wherever you are and be ready to participate in our discussion. It's going to be brief, and as you can see, Mr. Kevin Goge, our very able co-host, is showing us some of the things that we do together. Welcome. We are going to start by presenting our topic tonight, which is about HIV AIDS. If we are ready, Mr. Cam now, I'm going to share with you my screen. Can you see it?
Right. I can see that. I can see a screen being shared. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It talks about HIV, and today is July 23, 2024, a discussion by Reverend Wabui Joroge, and I'm the one who says I have a master's degree in child and family studies. Can you see our screen?
No, I can't see it yet.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to our screen, and we'll share it. I hope it's there. Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. I wanna share just. Can you see it now?
Yes.
And let's give out the music, and let's expand it so you don't have to see everything on. Can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yes, I can see it.
And we are Mental Health Stars Association Incorporated, and please know that July is Minority Mental Health Month. I know immigrants from Kenya do not consider themselves to be a minority group, but I want you to know that we are. And I think I'm going to preempt immigrants from Kenya to say that when you apply for permanent residency or apply for citizenship, one of the tests that you'll be subjected to, whether you like it or not, is a test for HIV/AIDS. But I want you to know that there is prevention, there is help that may not necessarily kick out your application. Perhaps if you're already here, it may be the one that opens doors for your treatment. HIV is defined, as you can see, by World Health Organization. Something is not right. Let's see. Oh, yeah. As human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, a huge, big word. It is the virus that causes acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, or AIDS. When a person becomes infected with HIV, the virus attacks and weakens the immune system. And as the immune system weakens, the person is at risk for getting life-threatening infections and cancer. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to share everything, because I believe our very able nursing practitioner, Mr. Kevin, is going to share more about it. I'm just going to leave you here where it says, how is it caused? HIV is caused by a virus. It can be spread through priority sexual contact, shooting of illicit drugs, or use of shared needles, and contact with infected blood. I know that if you're working with blood substances, you are always to have universal precautions. Wear your gloves, carry a pair with you. Even in the school system, I have a school counselor here, she can attest to this, that even in the school system, we are cautioned and we are trained so we know what to do. It also can spread from parent to child during pregnancy, childbirth, or breastfeeding. And I'm going to stop there because I want to give just a very short account of having students who have AIDS, actually full-blown AIDS, in the school system. I am sorry to say, because this is a while, when I worked in the school system, it has taken me 25 years in the school system, but not one. I have also worked with a Hepatitis, which is at a risk population, with 3-year-olds all the way to 5-year-olds. I have had also the benefit of working with the best of the best and the richest while I was working at the laboratory at the University of Tennessee, observing and documenting how children grow. Number 3, then I have worked in the public school system. But when I worked in the Georgia public school system, I am not naturally like our counselor here, who is a guidance counselor. I was assigned mental health. My badge said mental health for a county-wide system. And I had to sell the project about mental health in schools to about 10 counties. This is what happened. My students, I had 2 students with full-blown AIDS. And I'm very sorry to say, those students, my students, those 2 students I worked with at the very beginning, I'm sorry to say, they passed away before they could graduate. So even though, I'm back now with the, I have removed the screen. Even though that is the case, many years later, since the 1980s, more people are living with AIDS. Why? Because there is treatment available and we have newer medication. And last year, I just read about a research that is going on in Colorado. I wanted to bring it out. They are looking for medication where someone can have an injection for 5 years. Wouldn't that be, that is much easier. If you get an infection for this virus and you can wait for 5 years and then the next time you get another one, it makes life a lot easier. My mother was a nurse for more than 40 years, and she always, I can hear her voice saying one time, it is really hard for any one person to take a pill or medication or a shot every day for the rest of their lives when they are diagnosed. So that's why I celebrate all these newer medications, because I know it's going to help more people. If we come back later, we'll talk about the statistics of young children, especially children and teenagers, and especially the age of 13 to 34. Do you remember my special age? It's a very critical time. It is contended by everything, even sicknesses and diseases and experiment and media, social media. Everyone is zeroing in on the 18 to 34 years of age. You know why? Because this is the population that is, we are calling our next generation, our future. So when they are contending for our future, so we must be very careful how we connect, how we relate, and how we encourage treatment for young people. Thank you very much. I believe the next person who is going to share with us is Kevin. And then prepare yourself, sit back, because we will be able to have a time of Q&A, and some of you who are so specialized may also share something with us.
Thank you, Reverend Romboy. Can you hear me? You can hear me clear come now? Okay, great. So I'll add a little bit, and I appreciate you going ahead and breaking the ice. And this is a really sensitive topic, especially when we try to look at ourselves, having been, example, we are diaspora in this country, especially for United States, Canada, and probably South America. And I was very surprised when I looked at how they did look at people that are minority. Uh, Second from Hispanic, the United States is the African American, and they put in quote blacks. So that's where majority of us fall in. And this is a sensitive thing. It is sensitive. Especially we have a huge stigma around our culture, around our own beliefs, and to come out and own up or even express concerns about this illness or history of it, or even just being quiet and being passed on to not only different partners or even to children is just a really, really bad situation. How can we go about this? How can we go about this? So, yes, here we come again. Yeah, we're talking about these tough topics. We always call it dinner table topics. So if you're still online, please share, invite somebody, and let's keep moving. So Reverend One Boy talked about HIV. I'll add a little bit about it and also hepatitis. So HIV, now initially someone gets the virus, then it starts to progress. It attacks the CD4 cells of the body. These are like the soldiers that help our bodies to fight against any infection. And they start to go down in numbers. When they go down in numbers, if you're not treated or start taking medication to slow down their process, then it gets to full-blown AIDS. And this is where the CD4 count is so slow, so low, and also you have your body is just prone to any kind of infection. And this becomes a burden to the person. They lose appetite, they get infections very easily. A cold takes them maybe 3 months to even overcome, and they are always kind of in and out of the hospital quite a lot. We'll talk about that shortly. Now, hepatitis. This is the inflammation of the liver. It comes in A, B, and C. A is what we are commonly majority of third world countries have. We still have it here in the United States. Every so often you see it, especially when people go out and do, either contaminated water or go out in the woods and don't drink clean water. You see it. So from time to time that pops up. But the key thing here is contaminated food and water. So if your hygiene is really good, wash your hands, wash your food. If you harvesting, especially if you're going out in the woods where different animals pass by, it's good to rinse your food. Take a good bottle of water, and also it's good to rinse and wash your hands and wash your food. Hepatitis B is through blood. We are very lucky we're in a country that screens blood so stringent, and it goes through a lot of processes just to make sure it's clear and ready to go before it's given out. But still we do have some cases that pop out, and people get hepatitis when they get through blood. It makes the liver be so inflamed and work too hard that it causes them infection or sometimes even really bad inflammation for the liver. And then finally, you have hepatitis C. Sometimes it's through blood, but majority, the common one, you will see people when you ask questions like, hey, were you born between, I think it's 1965 and 1975? Somewhere there, they will ask you that question. There was a lot of blood transfusions then, and they suspect people did receive a hepatitis C through then, so they try to make sure people are treated. Now, from time to time, you see people get vaccines for hepatitis, especially those that work in the healthcare field. But also, it's good. I think I saw one coming up for hepatitis C that you can get to prevent this from happening. Now, for us as clinicians or just as a community, you're like, why? Why are we struggling with this? We are minority in this country, but why are we struggling with this? Some risk factors that will put us at the edge of having this to reoccur or put someone at a risk of catching this is alcohol and drug abuse, especially for HIV. A lot of people minority don't have that many or don't even have the funds to even buy. So they reuse a lot, especially when they fall into like homelessness. They just pick up stuff and use. So that causes them to have real high risk for hepatitis and also HIV. Now, advanced childhood experiences. Reverend Womboy did mention about children that are born through HIV. They get HIV during birth or even uh, from their parents as they try to drink the milk and breastfeed. So sometimes you'll see that. But there's also assault, people that are raped due to the neighborhoods they live in. Jail time. This is big. This is big. A lot of minority don't really understand this, but there's a lot of violence in jail and also a lot of HIV and hepatitis just because of the uncleanliness of the place and the very, a lot of behavior issues that happen there. So as a result of someone being in jail, just not the mental piece, but other physical things that they carry out when they leave, just because of being there. So this is, and minorities have a high probability of ending up in jail due to the environment or doing things that are illegal just to make money and to make ends meet. And then you have violence, people fighting, and they might cut you with something that you don't know about. And minorities might sometimes don't end up going to the hospital. They want to treat that at home. So you have this that can cause someone to end up having these issues. Experience with ongoing medical conditions. Sometimes we have seen, especially like stroke, diabetes, or even cancer, when someone don't have enough resources, they tend to just get things to keep going. I've seen this with especially the homeless people when they get diagnosed with a terminal illness and they are trying to comprehend and go through it. They fall into depression, start drinking alcohol, and they fall back or relapse into bad behavior, drug abuse because of just having these conditions. So we want to be observant of those. And then finally, obstacles that come on our way, just being a minority, there is a health access. That's one. We live in places sometimes they don't have very good or even lack of access to hospitals, clinics, or providers, lack of health insurance. There's a stigma, there's a belief we have due to where we have come from that hospitals we only go when we are sick. We don't want to disclose what we have. We don't want to know our history. We don't want to know nothing about our past or our current situation going on with our body. And that fear and that mindset keeps us very far away from the hospital. So you could have something that can be treated or managed and prolong life. But when you have these cases of stigma, that's what we keep coming back to try to wash that off, give you a new perspective, change your thoughts. And then we have traditions. A lot of people that come into this country and continue their same traditions. We have seen people that eat raw meat as part of their tradition. Raw meat and milk, that's probably not a good combination, especially due to picking up some of these hepatitis issues. And then you have traditions of excessive drinking. People think that because they were brewing and making beer or local brew at home, they come here and trying to pick up that. So they end up in really bad situations. So we see that also as part of it becomes an obstacle for the person as a minority to be able to access or even just to do the right things as a person. Then you have exposure to work conditions. A lot of minority, we tend to work very hard jobs or jobs that you just want to make money and forget the safety. You compromise your health and expose yourself to very toxic stuff just to make ends meet to survive and also support people at home. And then finally, genetics. We don't tend to really dig back into finding out some of our family history, and that keeps us in a bind and even in bondage to understand and know better to do better. So those are a few of the obstacles or things that are you're just a minority, but things that you can go around and there are resources. Before we move forward, I just want to show you all some statistics just to kind of understand what's the impact of this in our lives. So number one, we always like to talk about mental health because 1 in 5 people in US have some mental illness. They're not crazy, but they're going through something. And then if you look at non-Hispanic blacks, 1.4 times likely to die from hepatitis compared to Hispanic whites. Blacks are 1.4 times more likely to die from viral hepatitis, and this can be treated. You can be on medication. It takes long to recover, but you can be on it. And then finally, for HIV, in 2023, someone died of HIV every minute. That's scary. That's way too high. Way too high. So this out of there's a website I pulled the resources from. I think it's UNAID. They had this report there. Now, when we look at our risk factors, we have 67% that are meningeal and gay that have highest risk of getting HIV. And then you have heterosexuals with the second highest rate. And then you have 7% for those who do a lot of drug injections. So this is scary. This is scary here. All right. So what can we do about this? A couple things that I just want to mention. Hopefully, I'm not over time. But number one is community awareness. This is why we come and we bring these forums so we can share, know what's around you, know your history, and also know that there are resources around to help you. And then secondly, access your local Department of Health. If you're in the United States, if you type in your zip code and search for your local health department, they have this for you. Some of them are very, very cheap or even have free health screening event that you can go and just get a background or a foundation on how to get this. And some of them do also allow you, especially I think Boston has a way that they give you a card and you can access help. Georgia doesn't have it yet. Georgia, if you need help, go to Mercy Care. They do provide free healthcare days. And then finally, you want to establish care with a local provider. This could be a doctor, nurse practitioner that can be able to help you. You can use this website to locate one, and they are very, very helpful. They are very helpful. They'll tag you to the right person. If you show up to their clinic, you need more than they can provide, they will refer you out, and they work really closely together as a network. Now, if you don't have insurance, the same website can provide you local resources that do not have, that they provide care to non-insured people. And they have, some of them have a very small fee or even a payment plan, so you're not left out. And then finally, but least but not last, support from your local support groups. And this could be a church, a family, a friend. Check on somebody. If you know someone's go through something and they are kind of isolating or trying to ask for help, point someone to the right direction. Point someone to the right direction. Our churches are becoming more and more um, stepping up to pool resources. So if you show up, they will be able to assign you or direct you to the right support so you can get some help. And then finally, I want to leave this honest on assessment and compliance with treatment. If you identified and you have a program to follow, stick to it. I'll share this before I end. I've fortunately been able to take care of patients that are probably put on a transplant list. To be able to even qualify for some of these things, your consistency with the treatment, your keeping appointments, your resource, even follow up with the labs, nothing major, but their consistency pushes that person all the way up into the transplant list. Because when they sit down to educate and discuss about you, those are some of the things they look at. And then finally, it's so important for individuals, everybody on this call and more, try to get your annual physical so at least once a year. If you have insurance, it's free. And if you don't, check out some of the clinics around you that do provide. They can do it for you once a year for free, all a very, very discounted rate. My ask is for the providers and our local providers that are in the diaspora. We need to be added to this website so that way when someone is searching, they can tap into someone that understands their background, their history, their culture. And if the more we come into this website, the easier it is for our own to get access to our own services and for us to give back and also support them from a very cultural perspective. Thank you much. Over to you. Come now. Sorry, it's raining pretty bad where I am.
You did very well. All right, Rev. We're gonna jump to Dr. Penny. Thank you so much, Kevin. That was on point. Penny, you want to say something? Bishop?
Yes, I can approach this from a spiritual perspective, because there is a warning which I always see in the Bible, and I feel it is very necessary to sound this warning regarding hepatitis B, C, and HIV, noting the way the causes thereof. And if we visit 1 Corinthians chapter 6, from verse 18, I think, there is something like a warning. You are told, flee fornication. Flee fornication. Fleeing means you run away. You have nothing to do with it. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man does is without the body. That means all other sins, you don't use your body. But he that commits fornication sins against his own body. I consider this as a warning. I mean, from God. Because if we heed to the principles of God, we shall evade many dangers. I know this is not the only way that hepatitis and HIV are contracted, because you can share needles or syringes. You can, but in every, you can have other body fluids. Maybe somebody bites you and he's infected or she's infected. But sex is the worst contractor of these sicknesses. Sex is the worst media of these sicknesses. It contributes to a very high percentage of the causes of hepatitis B, C, and HIV. So it is very good to heed the principles of God, live godly, and we shall evade most of these things. God bless you.
That's a highlight from Bishop Pini Muthe. As you all remember, at the beginning, where we had such huge stigma for HIV, AIDS patients, family members, and I am here to say that I would say with clarity, if you are born and raised in Kenya, Africa, probably you are infected or affected. Infected is treatable, there's medicine. Affected is probably wide range. Why? Because you know a classmate. Maybe you know a family member. As Kevin said, that is a not discussed topic to hear anybody saying that their family member died of AIDS. You know a church elder, and I'm going to say one thing here, and then we go forward and are open for Q&A. Today we might not take too much time. In 1998, I visited Kenya from the United States of America, October. I was in a church when a moderator of a certain denomination read an open letter instructing dating couples and individuals, even those who are married, to get tested of HIV/AIDS as it was rampant. And if it's not treated, HIV is not treated, of course, it goes into full-blown AIDS. I was shocked to learn that. But I want to say that I came back here in this country and I spread the word among immigrants, and people are even afraid. I even declare and say, if you have been separated from your wife or husband or children for a long time, then you come back together. Let's say you live in Kenya or she lives in Kenya. then you've been away for many years. When you come together before you hop in bed, go and get tested. Oh my goodness, did I blow up the cover? Because one lady said, how can you say that? You think I'm a fornicator. You think I commit adultery. You think my husband has backslidden. Well, this is your counselor who teaches mental health and behavior. This is what I replied to the lady. I said, listen, some places I don't know even the blood touches, okay? This is the preacher now speaking. I don't know that the blood has touched sexual organs of people. So I said, just get tested. We don't have to fight over that. Why? Because the only sexual history Reverend Waboy Jorogen knows is myself. When I got married, like 40-something, 46, I even have forgotten how many years. You see, that's why we need to tell this community that the only sexual history you know, you cannot vouch and tell me your daughter who is 16, who is 17, who is 14 is a virgin. Who are you? You're not even a medical doctor. And I have basics to say this. I am a naturalized citizen of the USA. When I was to become a permanent resident, I was shocked. I insisted. I'm a born-again Christian. Oh my goodness, I speak in tongues. And my husband is a preacher. We are both preachers. I wasn't ordained that time, thank God. And I said, listen, I don't need to be tested for HIV/AIDS because it was discovered by World Health and given a name. I was already in the US. I wasn't there in Africa. Listen, they told me the same thing. They gave me the same words. You know, I teach prevention, especially to younger people. Abstinence is the best choice. I said no. I practiced abstinence before I got married. I came up with all the nice things, niceties. They say no. The only sexual history you know. Now I come down. I say the only sexual history that you know is your own. You cannot vouch for your children. Mm-hmm. You cannot vouch for the wife you're going to get married to, or the girl. Mm-hmm. And she's not even supposed to tell you, except if there's sickness and disease and you have HIV/AIDS. It is very important to tell anyone you have gone to bed with, because I know if we don't say these things, we are acting like we have not even gone to school. What I'm saying today, I teach high school. Where is our counselor? There was a counselor here. We teach this in high school, in middle school, in America, and high school. And we do not use euphemisms. This is not a church platform. This is a best practice platform. This is what the research is saying. But of course, we need to understand that you can also contract AIDS in other ways, like blood transfusion. They tell us that they are checking it, and it has been a practice, even my own practice. If I'm going to have surgery, I fatten myself up. I build my blood, and I save my blood at the hospital. I just have to trust them. I don't know if there is a shortage. Maybe they gave away mine, and so they put somebody else's blood in me. But I have not reached that place. But I was at a place where I had to save my own blood. And you can do that in America. I don't know about Kenya. You have to save your own blood so that when you go for surgery, they'll give it to you and not anybody else, because you are tested and it is you're sure of that. So the last time I was admitted and I was going to have surgery and I had no blood, and I told them, I signed that, do not give me blood that is not mine. I told them they can give me water. The nurse almost slapped me before she gave me the anesthesia. She said, you think we give people blood because they are going to leave and so we can inject them with water? I said, let me die. If I die, let me die as a soldier in the army of the Lord. But I'm here to say, Proverbs 11:14 says, people perish for lack of counsel, information, but in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. I hope there is something you can take away. I return the microphone to our able co-host. Don't you like Kevin? He sounds like just like those announcers. Yeah, CNN.
Right. Perfect. Before we jump to question and answer, I wanted to come in, and it's fascinating that nowadays with the drugs, if somebody has AIDS and they get pregnant, that their babies don't get AIDS. And also, I had a conversation with someone like, oh, if you suspect your husband is going out or your wife is going out, whatever, make sure you can be injected with the prevention so that you don't get AIDS. I don't know how that is true. Maybe Kevin can rectify that, or you can take daily pill so that in case your partner goes out there and they come home and they have AIDS or whatever, you don't get affected. And also, it's really changed because I remember when the AIDS started. Uh, I went to see someone that I know on 8th floor in Kenyatta Hospital, and there were people lying down on the floor, so many sick, and I couldn't believe it. I could see one person that I knew um, was a big guy, but when he was really sick, I could see his eyes out, and when he died, he was very tiny. I was like, oh my God, this is an enemy. So to see that today there's that help, you can get medication and you can survive. It's really, really, really awesome. So because of question and answer, I'm gonna go ahead and close the YouTube channel. Otherwise, thank you everybody who've been supportive of Mhstars. As we go to question and answer, I'm gonna disconnect. Thank you so very much. We're gonna share this later.